Welcome to another episode of the Papi and Chulo Show. Here I am, Papi, with an incredible guest for you guys tonight, Bobbyjon Bauman. Thank you so much for coming today.
No problem. Honored to be here.
So as you guys know, the mission statement of the Papi and Chulo Show is to affirm young men and to regain the trust lost from women. An unfortunate thing, a crisis for men, and we have experienced it ourselves, my co-host and I, Chulo, and we are just aiming as hard as we could to help with that solution, discussing the solutions, and I'm going to be able to do that with Bobbyjon today. Thank you so much for being here.
Happy to be here.
So, if I can give a little profile, my man, Executive Director and President of the Sycamore Youth Center here in Steubenville, and the President of the Ohio Valley Youth Network. Okay, two things that we're going to discuss in a little bit more. Your background, though, can you tell us a little bit more about that? What did you used to work as?
Sure. Well, real quickly, I grew up on a small sheep farm in Mineral Point, Wisconsin, around 2,500 people. I grew up within an athletic family, so my dad was a wrestling coach. He won 6 state championships as a coach, and I was on 3 state championship teams. So I was always around athletics and in the locker room with the guys and things like that ever since I was a young kid. And then I went into physical education. I taught PE in the inner city of Houston, Texas for a couple years. And then I moved on from there to go to seminary and went to seminary for 3 years. Got a Master of Divinity degree. Then started working for youth after that in various youth ministry capacities. In Mississippi for 8 years, then up in Madison, Wisconsin for 14 years, and then moved to Steubenville about 13 years ago.
That's awesome, man. Now, you came here as to pursue what career here? What brought you here specifically?
I came here to work with youth. A youth ministry position opened up, so I ended up taking that. But I saw within the city that there was a great need for kids to really be impacted with the love and grace of God, the gospel of Jesus Christ, to get set on a right path. And it was right after some challenging times here in Steubenville were taking place. The Steubenville rape trial had just happened, right after I moved, and that was involving some young people at that time. So it was kind of a depressed time within the area here in Steubenville. And so I thought, maybe I should try and do something about that, to help set the kids' lives in a better direction. And so I ended up starting something called the Ohio Valley Youth Network, where we pulled together different ministries and social service agencies that dealt with youth to come together to collaborate, to exchange ideas, to not duplicate services, but to find different ways that we could create ministry and programming for you so that they just wouldn't be sitting on a couch or doing drugs and then head down a life of disillusion, but rather toward a life of prosperity and joy in Christ.
Yeah, and that's why I really appreciate you, Bobbyjon, because I really feel like you're a brother in the struggle, a brother after my own heart. I myself have been working with the youth since college. The Urban Mission, when they had a youth program, beforehand there would always be the word shared through Pastor Tony, and then she would give us the opportunity for the Franciscan University volunteers to take him aside and do a youth group time. So that's my background for 4 years with the inner city kids and Boys and Girls Club. I was through the Big Brother Big Sister program. And then pretty much annually to Peru, to a children's home, to just volunteer, be another adult with the daily function of a children's home, disabled children's home, coming from all over Peru. And they receive their treatment, their therapy, their surgeries there in the heart of Peru, where the best care for Peru is. So that's my background. I have a passion for working with the youth, a love for them, and I especially hurt when they hurt. And that's one thing that I remember talking to my co-host with a long time ago. We hurt when they hurt. And from that comes this question of what can we do? How could we get involved? Usually other people aren't doing something. And one thing that in watching another episode of your interview that I saw that totally is exactly what I used to hear myself is there's nothing to do in downtown Steubenville. Nothing to do. But now there is. There's many things going on downtown to which we'll discuss. But before we do that, I kind of want to identify what you think is the struggles that the male youth are particularly experiencing. If you could, from your experience, what are the main things that you experience?
I'd say lack of fathers within the home is the main thing. And that's where myself, yourself, other men, coaches, youth ministers, pastors, priests, need to step up to the plate and to be the mentors to these kids. Because if they don't have a stable adult, a trusted male role model in their life, they'll look to whoever is out on the street that seems to have the most bravado or whatever it might be to get things done. And then they'll end up falling down a path where they'll, end up shot on the street at age 35.
Yeah.
I mean, I was working with a kid here on Maryland Avenue, for years. Actually, I had him and his dad as a part of case management. I used to be a case manager here in Steubenville as well. I'd drive this kid around. He was in the Sunshine Bible Club that I taught for, it's still going on, but for years. And, not too long ago, he ended up getting in a gun battle and got killed at age 19 right up on on Maryland Avenue. Damn. And I was just thinking, and he was somebody that we tried to reach him, and but I mean, that's all. We do what we can do, and we've reached a lot of kids, and been able to steer them in a great path. One of my favorite examples is we had a young man that used to live under a bridge in Chicago, was homeless. He came to Steubenville, was couch surfing, was homeless, going from, he was actually selling candy bars door to door in Steubenville. Wow. And he ended up walking past the Sycamore Center one day, and we were outside playing kickball. I said, "Oh, come on over, play some kickball with us." And so he ended up playing kickball. I started to talk to him about the youth center. He came in and took part in our Bible studies. Then he started to take part in the Sycamore Center programs every day. And later on, he learned how to hip-hop rap because we had a hip-hop class.
Yeah.
And then after that, he started teaching our Bible studies. And then he became a Fellowship of Christian Athletes leader. So he was teaching within the schools, local schools, the Bible. And he recently came into the church. And so, I mean, it just, as well as he's lifted out of poverty, he was paying his bills, for his family, himself as a 17-year-old kid. Yeah. But now he's going into full-time mission work coming up in August.
And that's the thing. You have to try to catch them in their uniqueness. Every child is different. Some are more cerebral, some are more hands-on, some are more creative. And you could have a great basketball program all you want, but if she doesn't play basketball, like, what are you going to do? She's going to sit in the corner. So that's one thing that I noticed, the long list of things that you mentioned, plus more. I mean, heck, one day I might even hear underwater basket weaving. I don't know. What you don't have yet is a salsa class. If only there were a salsa instructor in town.
Who could that be?
Who could that be? One day. But as you know, I am officially teaching locally at the College of St. Joseph, hopefully once a month thing, and hopefully that continues. So I'm pretty happy to hear about that. One of the ways that through dancing, that's one way that I connect with the youth. In the first Friday festivals, I thought to myself, I want to bring the joy of dance, and I asked Mark Barnes, and in his email, he's a writer, so you can read his emotion in his books and his writing more so than his expressions. And his response was like, "This is exactly what we're looking for, Junior. Thank you so much for suggesting it." So boom, I went hardcore, bought a DJ set system, and dancing salsa, mainly bachata for the adults, but who I noticed dancing the most were the little kids. So I was like, I'm going to cater this to the kids. So then the piñata, the traditions of a monthly piñata according to the theme of the festival. So if it's a story time theme, there was a unicorn. If it was a pirates festival, it was a gnarly cactus pirate. If it was the Oktoberfest, it was a huge pretzel. So I tried to adjust it, and then of course, aside from the piñata, walking around the town with the piñata, letting the kids hit it. That's one avenue that I do it, along with the dance lessons, along with the Big Brother. So I'm able to fit that niche with the little brother that I have through the Big Brother Big Sister program, which I recommend everybody do. Is I'm more of an athletic guy, so that's where we connect. Immediately, what did we do? Play football. And once we play football, then he started talking. He loosened up, and it usually happens like that. Men more so just do things together, and then the talking kind of happens after.
Yep.
So, the who do you look up to? Who do you look up to like throughout your life? Who was a mentor to you?
I'd say my dad. He was and is a great man. I mean, he's still alive. He was a coach. He was very tough. I mean, he was I don't know how to describe it, but old school coach.
Yeah.
Where he didn't take anything from anyone type of thing. But he also had a heart for God. So it was a kind of a good mix. The best way I could put it, and he'd be fine with me saying this, I've said it a number of times, was my mom showed me about the love and grace of God, where my dad showed me about the justice of God, the right and wrong and how to live and things like that. And I think as boys, we need a little bit of balance with that. We need rules, we need structure, we need, toughness and things like that. But also we need the grace of God on the other end so that we, can be compassionate toward people as well. So I think that, but definitely my dad, I would say, was the one that I've emulated myself after. Although I will say the heart of what I do, like in ministry, comes from my mother, who would be praying with me by my bedside every night and reading me Bible stories and just, very compassionate, loving woman. So I guess it'd be my mom and dad. Might be more accurate.
That's awesome, man. Along those lines, I would say my father is my mentor as well. Hardest working man I know from the farms of I almost said Steubenville, Ohio. No, from the farms of Tarma, Junin, deep in the Andes of Peru. Raised by a single mother, oldest of 4 kids, with 4 siblings, and he lived in the hard knocks. He even tells a story where he went to see his father at the bar and say, "Father, we need money for food," and his father, surrounded by his friends, laughed at my dad. And at that moment of the 13 years old, my father says that that's when he felt that moment where, that's it. I'm going to be the man of the household. And he tells my abuelito that. He's like, "Don't worry about us anymore. I'm going to be the man of the house." And he tells me that story, and it gives me a lot of pity for what my father went through. It makes me feel really bad for all the things I put my father through, especially my mother unfortunately passed away when I was 13. And yeah, I mean, I'm entering the years of as a teenage boy with a lot of hormones, and I drove my dad crazy. And I at the age of 21 or 25, actually, when I was stuck in Peru during the pandemic, I was volunteering. The pandemic started. Peru went hardcore, and I was with the kids, ages from babies all the way to teens. I was with them for 5 months, stuck but happily stuck. It was the first time that I ever dealt with a teenage girl who, when I corrected her, because she had to be corrected, she hated me for like weeks. And it wasn't the type of just hate where I'm upset with you. She would walk and you would feel the hate. And I went to sleep for the first time in my life with a heaviness. And it was a heaviness because I was hurting because I didn't have this relationship with this girl that was so good before. And yeah, maybe I could have said things differently, whatever. But the point is I was going to sleep with a heavy heart. And it reminded me of how many nights probably my dad went to bed with a heavy heart. And him as a single father going through that. I just admire him even more. The cojones that he must have had to be able to raise three boys, running a business and working a full-time job. It's impressive, and that's who I look up to myself as a mentor. So yeah, man, so tell me about the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. You started a chapter here or many chapters? How does that work?
Yes, many. It turned out to be a number of chapters, but when I came to Steubenville, just at that time where you had mentioned there was nothing good to do after school in Steubenville, people kept saying to me, I was thinking, kind of from a mission mindset, where do you reach kids with the love and grace of God? Where do you reach them with the gospel? Well, the kids aren't going to Sunday school anymore. A lot of them don't. Most don't go to church. So what would a missionary do? They would go to where the kids are, and where is that? Within the public school.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to every single superintendent and principal within the area and asked whether I could start a Fellowship of Christian Athletes Bible study at their local school. And fortunately, all of them said yes. So we ended up starting 16 Fellowship of Christian Athletes Bible studies in, Steubenville High School, Harding Middle School, as well as Indian Creek, Edison, Toronto, all the surrounding area
That's
schools.
awesome.
And so now we have over 500 kids that are studying the Bible, each week within the public schools within Jefferson County, as well as we're starting something new, which is called Release Time Bible Education. I don't know if you've heard of
No,
that
I
or
don't know
not.
yet.
But they recently passed a law in Ohio that during the school day, you can pull the kids out of the school during the school day, take them to a church or a youth center or something, teach them the Bible, drive them back to school, and then they can go to the rest of the school day.
Wow.
And I'm doing it already. We started it this year. And now we've expanded that to a number of our area schools, and that's one of the goals that I have is to have that within all of Jefferson County. So the kids that are involved in sports, for example, after school, who can't take part in our after school programs, they can take part, in the Release Time Bible Education program.
Dude, that's great, man. So creative, and you're finding opportunities to do something. And I'm sure the kids that are going aren't necessarily the ones, they are not the ones that don't want to go. And even if they want to just get away from school, I mean, how many times are you really going to do that? So,
Right.
So that's awesome. Again, catching them where they're at. Throughout the years, I've seen you from a distance. I've seen you dancing. I've seen you involved in community stuff. I've seen you have fun at balls or whatever. And then partaking with like I said, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. That gives me a perspective, an image of you being very rugged and very manly. So when I say a man after my own heart, I really do mean that. Thank you for your witness, your example.
Oh, no problem.
So me on a smaller scale involved, I recognize that I'm only one man. I get stretched. I may not sleep well. The stress, the weight of the world, and I'm just doing minor stuff, and then I run my own business. How do you handle the weight of the world when you feel it's on your shoulders?
I would say through prayer and my spiritual life, leaning on God, just staying consistent, with the devotional life as well as with attending Divine Liturgy, Mass, has been really an anchor, as well as, quite honestly, my wife is awesome, so I don't know what else to put it about it, but she's completely supportive of everything I do. She's an extremely hard worker herself. I mean, she's up as late, if not later than I am, working on stuff for the youth center, and but we also take time to have fun.
Yeah, very
So
important.
we get out there, as you've seen, we folk dance every week. We
Right
go
on.
down and do that, and do Italian dancing and Lithuanian dancing, all the different types of dancing every Thursday. And
If the things that you do is like refreshing and doesn't feel like work, then awesome, man. Me and my landlording, I feel like I'm playing with toys. That's really how I feel, and it's like Monopoly pieces, and I have fun with it. So that's great. What are any plans in the future, or is this the most recent thing, the school thing where you're going to take the kids to the church?
That's the main thing, and I've been getting personnel in place to do that. Since it's not set in place, I can't really give a little more details, but I got a couple schools I'm very excited about that this may be happening at. So we've launched it at 5 schools this year, and Steubenville has just been really gracious to do that. They also allow us to teach the Bible and history and literature in the public schools. So literally that's where I just came from. I was, teaching the Bible at Steubenville High School right before I came here during the school day, which is for class credit, and they put it underneath the like for an English credit. And we also started that program at the middle school at Harding, and so they teach a Bible literacy course there. So we're just trying to get God's word out in a way that's you can teach the Bible in a historical way, as long as you don't, like teach it devotionally where, the kids have to do, pray or things like that. So
Yeah. To kind of close up, I wanted to ask you if you could suggest things to the audience who hopefully something is stirring up in their heart. Maybe they are already involved, they want to improve as a volunteer, or they're looking for ways to do it. What would your advice be? But specifically, one thing that I heard you say in another interview was that you're getting to do what you dreamed of. Mm-hmm. Everything you're doing that's coming to fruition are your dreams coming to fruition. And when I heard that from you, I thought of what 18-year-old junior, when he was freshman undergrad here at Franciscan, his dream was by the age of 40, him and his wife, to sell everything and go abroad and be a humanitarian in a third world country. That literally was a dream, and I totally forgot that I had that dream. But it was I remember it being so powerful, and I was convinced that I was going to do it. But life has led in other directions. What are a couple of things that you could say to encourage the people that want to be involved?
I would say find your passion, or trying to find what that is, and then go to your stakeholders within your community that are successful, who are doing things with youth, and just ask them, could I serve in this capacity? That's basically how the Sycamore Youth Center started. Was I said, I met people. Somebody said, for example, I enjoy folk dancing. I said, would you like to start a folk dancing class at Sycamore? They started it. Now we have over 125 kids involved, That's awesome. In that. Then as well, somebody said, I enjoy sewing. So we ended up starting a sewing class. We've been doing that, for the last 8 years now. And people are willing to give back in what they have in their passion, or what they enjoy doing. And, to invest that in the next generation is, invaluable. Because you're passing on that legacy of what that gift God has given you to others, and giving them something to do, rather than lay on the couch and, play video games or do other destructive things.
Yeah, because like you said, people are passionate about something, and the second they get a whiff of teaching somebody else that, and they see it in their eyes, that passion starting to grow in them. There was one time at a First Friday, I saw a girl observing, teenage girl, all in black, piercings through wherever, red hair, and she was in an awe moment. And I knew exactly she was in that awe moment, that trance moment, because I've experienced it myself, where I've seen other, in a swing dance, but girls being thrown up and around the back. And I recognized it, and it's almost like she just needed permission to dance. So I asked her, and she said yes, and she was great. And I saw her the next time, it was great. Unfortunately, I haven't seen her since. But I remember that awe moment, and that is why I love doing it, and it only makes me want to teach more. So yes, encourage whatever you're good at, you could share it. You could go out there, just ask people like Bobbyjon, and they'll plug you in somewhere. So with that, Bobbyjon, thank you so much for this episode in the Papi and Chulo show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Papi. I appreciate you. Good time. Thank you so much.